Hi everyone, my name is Ogechi and this is our third episode. Welcome to our channel, Miscarriage is Also a Loss. We've been covering miscarriages, the stories we've been having. The first episode and the second episode, we were covering miscarriages. But in this episode, my guest is going to share her story on stillbirths. Right?
Sure.
Yeah, she's going to talk about stillbirths. But before we get into introducing and getting to know our guest today, I would like to invite you, if you would like to share your stories, the number is running on the screen. You can also send an email so that we can come and listen to your story. So we are going back now to the guest. As I said, my name is Ogechi. I've had 3 miscarriages. I'm a mother of 2 and a friend to our guest here.
Hello everyone, welcome to this experience. I'm Mary Ireri. Ireri is my husband. We've been married for the past 10 years. This is our 10th year. And we've had 3 pregnancies, but 2 are surviving. One is 7 years and the other is 3 years. Karibuni.
All right. Now something really quick.
Yes.
I know she's comfortable for me sharing. She's a pastor's wife. Ireri is a pastor. And I wanted to highlight that so that you're also encouraged that watumishi wa Mungu pia wanapitia hizi shida.
Sure,
yeah.
Sure.
So now that you've introduced yourself, we would really like to get to hear of your experiences. I know you lost a child immediately after birth. So how was it? What was your experience?
It was in 2016. And now we were expecting our second born, now that we already had our firstborn born in 2014. And we had prayed that God gives us a baby boy because our firstborn is a girl, at least for the balance, yeah. So we prayed and did our part. Somebody is smiling when I say we did our part. And so there we were, confirmed, expecting, and we started walking through the journey. I must say the pregnancy was very conducive for me. Sikuwa na kutapika and all that. Actually, if I was to wait for kutapika nijue that I'm expecting, I would wait until the last minute. Appetite ilikuwa. It was really a smooth pregnancy.
Wow.
And so now it came to 2017. I was due in March, and March was here. I remember I was a teacher. I was teaching in high school. So that day, I came from school. I taught from 1 until 4, and then during the afternoon session, I was feeling like I'm uncomfortable. Nilikuwa nasikia tumbo imefura and all that, but I didn't have pains. But slightly before I finished my class, I don't know, because of standing, I began feeling now my belly ache from the lower part. Yes. So now I thought, do I go to the hospital? Of course, we were due, but it was not labor per se comparing to the firstborn. So I came from school, and then something told me, now just go and check. It won't cost you to go, just go check what is happening with you.
True.
So I didn't go straight home. I passed by our nearby clinic, the one I used to attend to. It was just nearby. So when I went, I described what I was feeling and all that. So the nurse, that time I remember there was a major strike. There was a worldwide strike for the doctors. That 2017. So when I went, at least there was a nurse. They used to attend to the emergencies and all that, but not for admission. So she told me, now just let's see what is happening with you. And walipoangalia kile kitu, the nurse told me, my dear, you're on labor. And I was like, okay. So now what do I do? She told me, now you see we are on strike, I cannot admit you. So you now need to get yourself a place where you're safe to deliver. And from that time now, labor came. I don't know, real labor came, especially after now being told I'm on labor, after talking to the nurse. So now that time, I called my husband. To know what next, and then from there I called my husband, and then I called our house manager, the one who was taking care of the older girl. So I told her, now I gave her the directives where to get me the baby's bag. She knew where I I used to keep it. Yes, I told her kindly, I'm here outside the hospital. I've been told I'm on labor, so kindly get me the baby's bag. I need to be on my way. And she was there. She took the bag. She came. And then she was like, oh, I wish you all the best. And I was like, thank you. And then there, I got a taxi through our neighbor. And then I went to the hospital. I was driven to the hospital, to the nearby mission. Yeah, to the nearest mission hospital. Yeah.
Okay.
And then on arrival, I got admitted, and then my husband arrived. He was away, so he arrived at that moment on admission.
Okay.
So we were following up on admission. The nurses were, the first thing they were trying to do was now listen to the baby's heartbeat, whether it's okay, and they were saying it's okay. We now admit you, and that is it. So I labored. That was around 6, almost 7. So on admission, I labored. And at around 7, still the way was opening. The first one I got through normal delivery. Okay. Yeah, so I was also expecting to do so for the second born. So the way was opening very well, but now they realized that the heartbeat is going a little slow, so they induced me. And by the time that drip was getting finished, baby was already out. I thank God. And when baby came out, I remember the nurse now taking the baby. But now, unlike the firstborn, at least for the firstborn, when the baby got delivered, number one, she cried. And then the nurse took the baby and asked me, Madam, umepata mtoto wa msichana au mvulana? So I looked at the baby and I told her ni msichana. Then she placed her here and then cut the umbilical cord. But now this one, the nurse just took the baby and then she looked so shocked. Then immediately went behind. It was a curtain. I remember it was a curtain that was now partitioning the labor part and where the nurses were seated. And then I had her trying to resuscitate him by patting him. I could hear. Then from then, I just felt no, things are not right. I just began praying, telling God, God, this is not normal. This is not normal. Please, please, please take care of that baby. I was praying so loudly, something that I've never done before. Like I'm alone and I'm praying so loudly. No, I've never done before. So I was telling God, God, even if I know, even if he may not be alive, you used to resurrect, please do it for me. And I was telling God, I know you gave us that boy. I was so sure it's a baby boy, yet the scans, when we went for scans, we didn't confirm. We had the faith. We just felt like God has answered our prayer. So I told God, God, you can't give us the baby and then now again he's not there. So I kept praying. And then finally, remember by that time I'm praying, I'm still on my labor bed. My husband is waiting outside. So when I'm finishing praying is when the nurse is coming and I didn't ask her anything. So she tells me, no, I need to clean you up. She cleans me and then tells me, go take a shower. I don't ask anything. I go take a shower. The shower is right next there. So when I enter the shower, I was able now to see the door to the door to the labor room. And now as I look, my husband is outside the door asking me, he was just asking, okay, he just did this. And I was like, I didn't tell him anything because I could see the nurses there and I just pointed, nikampointia to the nurses. And me, I entered the shower room. So hapo ilibidi ajisort. Akaingia. Mimi nikashower. When I came out of the shower room, I didn't come on this side of labor room. I now joined my husband who had already gotten in and joined the nurses. And my husband was standing, and right below him there was a baby cot, and the baby was lying there, covered in a napkin. He was covered here on the lower part. Yeah, the lower part. Then I could see the baby asleep, and so my husband was on this side, and the two nurses were on the other side. So then when they saw me, they kept quiet. So I came and then I looked at my husband. I looked at the baby, then I looked at my husband. Then I asked him one more question. is he alive? Because the napkin had covered him, but I could see the private part, it's a boy. Yeah, so I asked him, is he alive? Then for him, he didn't go verbal. He just shook his head like this. And for me, that didn't hit me. Like, how is he dead? The baby was asleep. So I didn't say anything. I just picked the baby. Then I held him in my hands. And there was a seat just next to the nurses. I sat on my seat because the baby was asleep to me. So I looked at the baby. Something was telling me in my mind, if the baby is not alive, there must have been a reason why he's not alive. Maybe he was injured, nilikuwa na expect nione mahali ana bleed, au labda hakuwa amekuwa poa, so labda vidole havijakuwa. So I was inspecting the baby. So I began inspecting the baby. I looked at the head, so healthy, the hair. I looked at the eyes. Of course, they were closed, but he was asleep. I looked at the hands, I counted the fingers were 10. I went to the body, I didn't see anywhere he was bleeding. The 2 feet, they were okay. And then I held my baby like this. Then all along, my husband was there, silent. The nurses were there just looking at me. I don't know what they thought I'm thinking. So it is at that moment, the nurse now, after realizing that now I've just inspect the baby, I'm not doing, I don't know what she thought I was doing. Then the next thing I heard her say is, so now I need to take the baby away so that now you can be left to decide on whether you shall give us permission to bury the baby or you shall bury the baby. So that if that is the case, now we shall have to take him to the mortuary. So all along, still, I had not picked. So,
it had not sunk.
So yeah, it had not sunk. So when the nurse said I need to pick the baby, she took the baby. Then she took him to the next. There was just a room next to where we were. That is where he was placed. And then when the nurse came back, then she told me and my husband that so now you can have your time. Go and talk about it and all that, then you will decide and tell me. So my husband held me, we went out, we walked out, and then now we just sat outside instead of getting to the maternity or to the ward. Yeah. True. So we are seated outside there. It's around 9. The baby, I delivered the baby at around 8. So around 9, 10. Yeah. So now my husband now began calling, of course, the informing. Yeah. So the first person he called was my father-in-law, his dad. So you know he's breaking the news. Hello, daddy. Tuko hospitali na tumepata a baby boy. And I could hear my mother-in-law doing the in Kikuyu. And then the next thing they are told is but he died. Then simu ikakatiwa hapo. The parents, the in-laws, simu hapo ndio iliishia. Then he had to call my parents also. So he called my dad and informed him the same. And for my dad, kukata simu, but so he finished what he was saying. He was telling them, so now that the baby has died, the hospital has told us to decide whether to bury the baby or to let the hospital bury. Then my dad was like, it's very shocking news. Let me share with your mom, then we can get back to you. Yeah, and that was it. Then the third people that were called that night was our elders. As you said, we are a pastoral family. And that evening, there were elders who work with my husband who knew I'm in the hospital for delivery. So he ensured that he called them also and gave them the news. And yeah, that was it. So the news were broken, and now we were there at around now midnight. It's when our parents called, respectively, and all of them advised us that let the hospital bury the baby. Yeah, they advised on grounds that it's going to be less traumatizing for us. it's going to help us heal quickly, and we didn't have any other way. We didn't have any objections. Yeah, so that's what happened. So that was at night. So after delivery, sijui kanja kanatokanga wapi.
Before we get to that, Nja,
yeah.
At this time, yes, are the emotions running anywhere, or everyone is still not processing?
Yeah, my husband has processed. So he's down, but me, I'm not. I'm very okay. No emotions for me. Yeah, it had not dawned on me. I will let you know when it did.
Okay.
Yeah, it had not yet.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now we can go to the hunger.
Yeah. So by the time we are breaking all those, it's around 1. And I was very hungry, so I requested my husband to get me something to eat, and because the hospital had already served, he had to go back home. It was not far, so he called our house manager, told her to prepare some ugali. That time when I was expecting, I used to love ugali and maziwa mala. Actually, every time my husband would go, he had to remember to carry maziwa mala, now that unga ugali uko nyumbani. Yeah, so he had carried maziwa mala, so he requested our girl to prepare some ugali. He's coming to pick immediately. And the girl did so. So he just went home, like in an hour's time he had gone and brought me the ugali and maziwa mala, and I tell you, I ate very well. Nikashiba, juu kweli nilikuwa na njaa. And I just remember later I was asking my husband, sorry, so like ndio nilikuwa inanihit hata yeye hapo amekula 7. That was wrong, but anyway, that was the reality. Yeah, then he had to leave for home. Yeah, so at around 2 a.m. he left for home. So when he arrived home, he's the one who broke the news to our house manager and our little girl.
How old was the girl?
The girl was 4 years. Yes, yeah. So he broke the news. I know you will invite him one of these days to share how he broke the news, because I wasn't there. He should come.
We should have that session.
Please. Yeah,
these men should. These men should speak to us.
They have a share of this story. Yes, because even me, I always want to know. I wish I was there to see how he shared the news, but he did share.
Okay.
Yeah, and so for me, I was left in the hospital, and I didn't sleep. Why I didn't sleep, the ward I was in was just next to my labor ward. And as I told you, the labor ward, our baby was put in a room just there.
Yeah.
So what was happening, I didn't sleep. Why? In that ward I was in, we were mixed up. Those who were expecting almost delivering, and those who had delivered immediately. So they had their babies
before
there.
They prepared them
before
to
they
the
prepared,
ward.
yes.
Oh, okay.
So they had their babies crying, and I was there. I don't have my baby, but my baby is in the next room. And for me, I was like, my baby is there for some time. I kept on listening to hear him cry, so that I go for him. So I didn't sleep. And when morning came, I remember where my bed was right when you enter into the door or through the door. My bed was on the extreme far end, so that from the door I would see who is entering. So at around 6 a.m., that's when visiting hours was, 6 to 6:30. One of our coordinating elders, the wife was informed I was in the hospital for delivery and all that. So that 6, imagine she was right there. And guess what? She was carrying a kikapu. And in that kikapu, I could see from the door, it has a thermos and all that.
Yes.
Yes. So when I looked and I saw her, carrying a basket. That's when reality hit me. Like, she has come to see me with a basket, ikiwa na thermos na chakula. So that ninywe uji, ni feed nani, nipate maziwa kufeed nani. That's when reality hit on me. That, what? Like, nimeletewa ya nini? When I broke from there, by the time that lady was coming from the door to where I was, I had broken down completely. I was crying. And so she got confused, because by the time she was entering, I wasn't crying. Actually, I looked at her. But now, by the time she's getting to my bed,
you are crying.
I was crying. I was so uncontrollable. I cried. She of course, she's a nice one because she never told me to stop crying. She just held me by my shoulder and kept on patting me, you know. And I kept crying. So she told me, in our church they call pastor's wife shepherdess. So she told me, shepherdess, I will leave you for now, but I will come later. Ensure you take whatever I brought you, okay? I just shook my head because I was not able to talk. I could not even look at her.
You were still crying?
I was still crying, but I shook my head, and that meant to her that I heard what she said, Then she went.
One question, did she know that the baby had passed?
I'm not sure.
Or she knew you went to deliver and she was coming to celebrate?
I am not sure. In fact, I don't know why I'm not sure. But I think with I don't know. Actually, I don't know whether. However, I would guess she was, because when my husband was communicating in the course of the night after delivery, that elder was one of the coordinating elders, and I'm sure maybe he must have been informed.
True. That is
possible. But for her, you know, even if she was aware, you know, you see, even I didn't give her a room to share anything, to even talk to me. So, but I'm sure she might have known. Through the husband.
But that is a good way to comfort.
I tell you,
giving you time to
not telling me stop crying. You know, you need to be strong. No. She just kept quiet. She just kept quiet and kept on patting me. I remember that kapat up to date. And so when she went, that was around 6:30. Now my husband now arrived. To come, and now we need to clear the hospital. And she came with other people, and so they cleared. So now they need to pick me. We go home. Yes. And so now this time we need to go home. We need to go and see our baby for the last time and bid him bye, and then we go. So now we went to the room. The baby was still there. Bado hajaamka, amelala tu. We were only the two of us, me, my husband, and then the nurse who had directed us there. And so now she told us, now the baby is here. Now, as you leave now, you now leave him under my hands. So now my husband was like, you know, being a pastor, he had buried so many people. And I remember the previous week, just before we lost our baby, he had gone to bury a 3-year-old baby. And so that time we were about to leave our baby, imagine he said those words that they say when they are burying. He just said, baby boy, we thank God that he gave you to us. And even if we have not heard you cry, we are leaving you here for a short time. On that resurrection morning,
we will meet
with you.
Amen.
And then he said bye.
He was a strong man.
Then he told me to say bye. I tell you, hiyo ndio ilikuwa inakaa mazishi. Like, I was like, wow. I realized it is very hard to say bye. So I was like, yani inakataa kutoka, I don't know how. But I just told, bye baby boy. Then there I was breaking again. And then so my husband held me. Then we went out of the door. We left now the nurse. And when we went out of the door, now I met those who had come to pick me from the hospital. And they were carrying a basin, of course, the one I was admitted with. And then baby's bag. My dear. Now I'm looking at them. They are carrying baby's bag. We are going home without a baby.
That must have been painful.
It was very painful. To leave the hospital, you had come expecting to live with a baby, but you are living without a baby.
That was sad. And now when you get home, this little girl knows daddy has spoken to her. We have lost our brother. How does she react? Mom is home. How does she react?
So when we get home, that time we didn't have a car. So the family that had come are the ones who carried me, but then my husband had come with we had a motorbike, so he followed behind in his motorbike. So we arrived before him. So I want now to bring that picture. So we arrived before him. So now this family is the one now ushering me to the house, carrying the baby's bag. So they opened for me the door and I get in. When my house manager had people get in, so now she was in the kitchen. She comes to meet us. So we meet exactly between sitting room door and the door to the kitchen. Yes. And when she sees me, nothing. She hugged me, then broke down. And I tell you, even if I had not planned, we just found ourselves crying. We cried. Then, by the time we are crying, our little daughter was, I think, in the bedroom. So she came and shouted, "Mom!" So now she came and joined the hug. So now you can imagine she's little. So she's joining the hug, hugging the leg somehow, the leg upper chini. Yeah. But her, she's not crying. She's saying, Mom, merudi, karibu. I'm like, I'm not able even to talk. So we cry, and the family that had brought us gave us that time. We finished. Then from that time, after finishing crying, my house manager went back to the kitchen. I entered to my bedroom. Then I didn't stay in the bedroom. I had to come to the sitting room so that I can release the guests. And so when I came back to the sitting room, they just bid us. They told us, we'll give you some time to rest. We'll come and check on you later.
Wow.
So they left. Yeah, they left. And by the time they were leaving, my husband had also arrived.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how was the process, the grieving process?
I must say it was not easy, especially the first night. No, first after we came back home, our little daughter, what surprised me, after the daddy told her that our baby died, she knew. It just got into her mind that our baby died. She never asked me anything about the baby. That is what surprised me. And what she told me was, Mom, usilie, Mungu atatupea bebe mwingine. I tell you, those were the sweetest words that just a small baby who does not understand what death is, but that is what she told me, and those words kept ringing.
Those words can break you in a good way.
Kabisa, in a good way. They give you hope. They give you hope. And then, you know, she's telling you while hugging you. There's no much she can tell you, but she's telling you so. And what surprised me is because when we were expecting, you know, they had really bonded with the baby, because when I would arrive from school, she would come and hug me and then touch the belly, and the baby would kick. I don't know how these things work. Yeah, and like they had bonded. So for her to tell me, Mommy, don't worry, God will give us another baby. She knew you were expecting. Yeah, and so when there's a loss, God, I don't know, made somehow that
the grace was sufficient.
Yes, she didn't ask me, imagine. Like I was dreading for that time she would ask me, so what is death? You know, those questions.
Or where did baby
go?
Confirm.
No, she didn't. So we grieved, and then now friends now kept visiting during that time, and they kept comforting us, and for sure that one I would say made the difference.
Now, how did the loss affect your spirituality? You are a pastor's wife. Yeah. Pastor is here. Sometimes they tend to hide their emotions. Yeah. I don't know if he broke down. I don't know if he showed his grief. But how did it affect your spirituality?
Yeah, as you say, I must say, being a pastoral family, we had not experienced a nuclear, like I don't want to say a nuclear death, but we had not experienced death on that close range.
That close.
Yes. So that was our first, and there were those questions like, God, we are serving you, how come? What happened? But with time I came to understand everything happens for a purpose. True. So that time there were so many questions that had no answers that time, and I would say for my spirituality, how it affected me, it made me move closer after, as I went on, going through the grieving process. Initially, I was down, but as people kept visiting and as I kept on having this hope, now I kept on now seeing, wow, for God to have allowed the baby to rest, it must have been for my good.
Amen.
Yeah.
That must have been strong faith. Grief hurts.
Sure.
And one myth that we usually have is that the comforters, you know, the pastors, the elders, the people in charge, the pillars, we always assume that when grief hits, they should also comfort themselves. It breaks everyone. It breaks true. Everyone.
Sure.
It's a loss like any other to any other family.
It is true.
Yeah. But I'm glad that the people that you are surrounded with, the elders, the people from church, were always there to encourage you. Now it was their turn to give you the hope.
I tell you, that was the best thing to know. Kumbe sisi we keep sharing. We also have a time where we also need to sit and listen.
Yeah. So one thing I have noted, God is faithful.
He is.
God is faithful. And I'm glad that you're willing to share your burden.
Sure.
Yeah, because sometimes stigma from around can make you not want to share your losses and your pains. But I'm glad that you decided.
Yeah, and
your husband.
Yeah, and then something else about sharing. I learned that up to now, through that loss, I've been able to encourage so many other. Like I've seen my friends lose their babies, and when I get there and I share, they're like, "What? And you are here, you're sharing, and you're not crying." And I'm able to tell them, God heals, even as time does. So I learned also. I have come to learn with time. God allows His children to also go through some of these experiences, hard as they may be, to be an encouragement, to use them as a testimony, even to encourage others. It's an encouragement
from experience, something you have personally.
No. If from your very
So what do you tell our viewers?
I would like to encourage you. You who is down there feeling so low, feeling God has forgotten you just because you got a miscarriage or you lost your baby, God is at the throne. And maybe this I didn't say, but God later blessed us in 2018 with a baby boy.
Amen.
And if I show you the photo of the one who died and the one we are having, you wouldn't differentiate. I would say God restores because He did for me. So take courage, my sister. Take courage, my brother. The God we serve, everything happens for the good of those who fear God.
Amen. Yeah. Thank you so much. We are grateful that you've listened to our sister's experience.
Sure.
It is heartbreaking losing a child, whether miscarriage, whether stillbirth, whether a child that is a year old, 2 years, 3 months old. It is a painful experience.
Sure.
But as she has said, when you share, it lightens your burden. That is a fact.
It is true.
And it encourages someone else. Not everyone is strong enough to share their experiences.
Sure.
So someone gets encouraged when we come out and speak about our experiences.
Sure.
So thank you so much for watching our show, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
I appreciate it.
The number is running down there. The email is there. If you have a story that you'd like us to listen to, an experience you'd like us to share, so that our viewers will be encouraged, please reach out. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.